An important skill that you need to learn is how to turn from a stop, specifically turning right from a stop. You need to learn how to turn left as well, but in the case of simulating what it's like riding out on a US street, means that your right-hand turns are going to be tighter than your left-hand turns. This parking space is 10 feet wide. A standard driving lane on any roadway is going to range anywhere from 10 to 12 feet wide. Practicing your tight right-hand turns from a stop in a parking lot is going to help you tremendously because you now know where the boundaries are, and if you drift over, you know you've gone too far and into the oncoming driving lane. When I set myself up for this exercise, what I want to try to avoid is actually scooting up right up against the end of these parking spaces. I do want to line my front tire up with that parking space line because I'm assuming that that is going to represent my curb if I was on the street. Putting myself really close like this, though, makes this turn really challenging because, again, if I'm imagining that this white line is the curb, what happens is when I make that turn, I'm very likely going to hit the curb with my rear tire, which could, of course, disrupt my balance and make it more challenging to complete the turn successfully. So what I want to do instead is I want to imagine that I also have 10 feet out this way, just like if I were at an intersection. So now I've put myself further away from the very edge of these painted lines, which is going to, again, simulate more of what it's like to be at an intersection. Now, my front tire is a little bit past where I would want it to be because I'm drawing an imaginary line across all the way, assuming that maybe that's the crosswalk. So I would actually need to scoot back a little bit if I was truly simulating an intersection right-hand turn. So I've now positioned myself further away, about 10 to 12 feet away from the end of these painted lines, and I've also set myself back from my imaginary crosswalk. The nice thing about this is I have now set myself up for success to be able to make that turn. I've made it so much easier for myself than where I originally started, which was right up against that painted line. The benefit of being just a little bit back, having that imaginary crosswalk, is I now have a little bit of space to give myself forward momentum before having to navigate the turn. Ultimately, your goal is to be able to immediately make a turn, but as you're starting into this, give yourself a little bit of forward momentum and then ask for that turn. Now, anything that you can do to the right, you need to be able to do to the left. It is going to be a rare moment in your trafficked riding experience that you're going to have to take a tight left-hand turn. You need to be able to make a tight left-hand turn just as you do with your right-hand turn. So set it up in the same way where you want to be on the outside of the turn to the outside of the turn. So in this case, I'm now going to be in the passenger side of the road if I were in a car, and then I want to arc over so that I mirror it and I'm still on the passenger side if I were in a car. So you don't need to have cones in order to practice this really important skill, being able to turn immediately from a stop. You want to practice it both on the right and the left-hand side. Again, this parking space measured at just over 10 feet wide. A standard US driving lane is going to be anywhere from 10 to 12 feet wide. So based on the parking lot that you might use, if that's a 9-foot parking space and you're able to stay within those bounds, you're going to be able to navigate a driving lane with no issues.